505, with our nation battling COVID-19 and the passing of Executive Order 60 by Governor Lee, governments are allowed to temporarily hold virtual meetings to protect public health, safety, and welfare, and to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Public will not be allowed to access this meeting except by electronic means in order to limit the number of attendees to no more than 10 people as mandated. If you are interested in attending this meeting, you can use the following options. Zoom app meeting ID 847-9705-7943, password 54321, or call 1-929-205-6099. Again, that's 1-929-205-6099. And the meeting IDs and passwords are the same as for the Zoom. Meeting ID is 847-9705-7943, password 54321. Item 3, the regularly scheduled monthly meeting for September 21st is being held by Zoom and a phone conference call. To participate, please use the options just announced. This meeting complies with Governor Lee's Executive Order 60. Item 4, roll call by the Secretary.
Chairman Jones, Vice Chairman Moore.
Here.
Secretary Davis here. Board Member Charles Davis. Here. Board Member Joe Runyon.
Here.
Okay, Rick. Your name?
He's not on the zoning.
Oh,
Do we need to know who's on the phone?
yeah. The item number 5 is roll call of any phone participants.
I didn't see that on our bills, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll start. Chad Reese, Southeast Tennessee Development District.
James Nevins, Todd Smith Surveying.
Nevins, James Nevins. And we got one more. I can't see who that is.
We have
Jimmy
two
Harrison.
others. There's one that says Pat Skinner and another has Christopher listed as the name. But there's a lady on with us.
And
Can you hear me?
Yes, you want to
Yes.
introduce yourself?
I'm Cindy Vincent.
Okay.
I'm for the
Cindy.
planning committee.
okay,
I'm on my husband's Zoom. Sorry.
okay.
This is
Is it Patty?
Ken and Pat Skinner.
Cindy. Okay. Cindy Vincent. Okay.
Yes.
And then you said Pat, is that right?
Yes, sir. And my husband is here too, Ken.
Pat and Ken Skinner.
Yes, sir.
Pat. Okay. And Ken,
Correct.
and are they for the zoning?
Yes.
Okay, and others for the planning? Okay.
You know, are we missing one? Is that, or that's Gary out there, the one we're missing, right? Is that you, Gary?
Okay, Gary's on the phone?
On the phone. Gary, is that you on the phone?
Jimmy
We have
Harrison.
one more on the phone. I'm not sure who it is.
Jimmy Harrison.
Oh, okay. Jimmy.
It's Jimmy Harrison. Okay.
Oh,
All right. And then we have Gary Llewellyn out in the lobby. Is that right, Gary? Okay.
okay. So we've got everybody.
I think we got it.
Item 6, approval of minutes of the previous meeting from August 17th. Okay, we have a second to approve.
I'll second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion, corrections, revisions of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Approved. Recognition of citizens, none. Communication from chairman, none. Reports from the staff and committees,
Not at this time.
not now.
There's a little bit of a tweak, Dan, for these minutes.
Okay.
If you look on every one of the votes, it's got an eye by everybody but me. See what I'm saying? See, Charlie? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, they left out the I.
They left off the eye on me on every one of them,
Okay.
All the way through.
all the way through.
Did you write it down in the minutes? Interesting. Okay. So noted with that correction. Okay. Item 10A, consideration of request from Stephen Elsey, 280 Main Street, non-conforming use.
This is under old business. And I'm just giving you a report on the business we covered last week. So that's done, permits issued, everybody's happy. Old business. Item B,
So A is,
it's just a report on old business.
so,
You usually ask me for a report on
That's
old
good.
stuff. I'm
Okay.
just giving you a report on old stuff.
So the permit's been issued, it's a,
Permit has
Everything's
been
done.
issued. That's right. Permit's been issued.
okay. Item 10B of old business, consideration of request from James Corbin, 1075 Market Street, non-conforming use.
Permit's been issued.
And they're both moving ahead.
That's right.
Item 10C, consideration of discussion on code violations.
We talked last month about code violations and we were gonna have our new codes enforcement officer present. And that didn't work out last meeting. This month, he's within a very short window of having a baby, if not already.
Okay.
So
So we're
he
still good.
couldn't be here this month, though we
Okay.
were aiming that way again. So we're kicking our discussion on codes violation down the road another month.
Okay, so we're still trying to get him here, though.
We are, and discuss how we're gonna approach that whole shooting match.
Okay. Heard a lot about him. Looking forward to meeting him.
Should be next month.
Cool. Item 11, new business. 11A, consideration of request for variance on block building and on pumps with setback line, Blue Island Properties, Ray County Highway.
So this is a division of property that needs a variance. It needs a variance. It's the old co-op building and the Eagle Exxon, which currently exists as one property, and the division would be down the fence line between the two. The building's scheduled to be sold. The problem we have is that the block building on the Eagle Exxon property is very close to the fence, so we need a variance there in order to have that line there. We're also asking a variance for the pump structure because it's a little close or it's not within the setbacks for a I-2. This is actually an I-2 property, so our setbacks are a little deep.
See the block building, where's the pump structure?
Over here where it says, it's this right here. It's that T shape that comes out.
Oh, so it's the main fuel pumps right there, yeah. Okay. It's too close to the,
And actually, if you want to see it on here, this will show you better.
It's right over the line.
That drawing showed setbacks for a C2. That was what we had.
Okay, and so these-
That's the actual.
This
this
is-
right here, Dan,
Yes, sir.
that
These-
point there and that point there.
these are the corrected ones then.
This, on this point right here,
And this point right
and
here.
that little T where it hangs, that's correct.
Okay. And, okay. So our minutes, yeah, our minutes are the correct one. This is yeah, the old one. Then. You know what?
So that
How many-
parcel was drawn as if it was a C2 and it's really an I2. So that's why the difference in the setbacks, but,
Do you know how much feet or inches or whatever variances we need here?
yeah, I did. And I thought I had it wrote in this package somewhere. James, does that ring a bell to you? How many feet we're talking about?
The one for the main pumps, that doesn't look like it's gonna be much at all.
It's not.
maybe 3.
And the one for the pumps, we don't even need. It's an existing property. It's just, we're throwing that one in because that helps property owners for financing later on and things of that nature.
If
The one
you,
that we really have to have is the block building.
Yeah.
And in order to,
version of it, it's listed below.
James, I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you. Do you remember the encroachment?
If you go to the revised one, I sent Chad a picture of it, and it's listed below Highway 27 as a variance request. I think it was 11 feet.
Are you all able there in the meeting room to see what I've got on the screen?
Wait,
Yeah, it's down here on the variances on the bottom of it.
You
Yeah,
got
see
the,
it.
you got the one that
Sorry, Chad. what's
Okay,
that?
I see it.
There it is.
Okay,
And so what I've got up on the screen, this was the original review. This didn't appear to make it into your agenda packet, but this is what the original review was on the plat. So James has made the requested changes. This is the revised plat that he sent to us with signatures that I have up on the screen now. And the variances that he has mentioned here at the bottom was a variance of 8 feet for the block building on lot 1 near the co-op, and a variance for 11 feet for the canopy on the gas pumps that overhangs into the front 40-foot setback.
okay, so you just need a variance on those 2 variances.
Yes, sir.
Chad, I just passed them out, the corrected drawing, so they've got it in front of them also. Thank you for putting that up.
Okay, we have a motion.
I make a motion, we approve this.
Is that Joe?
And Joe made the motion, we approve it.
Got a second? Okay, we got a second. Any further discussion on the variances? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
It's approved.
Roll call phone. I wish that away.
Item 11B, consideration of requests for variances on height of building and on setback on rear and side Skinner property on Park Avenue.
Okay, what we got here, if you go to page 6 of your packet there, Ken and Pat Skinner have, by virtue of a misunderstanding, begun a structure in the back corner of the property to basically be a 2-car garage with a, Chad's got that up there already, with a, you have those in your packet, but basically to be a 2-car garage with storage on top. So I happen to be out there on other business right there in the neighborhood. That's on Park Drive. As you face the house from the road, that what you're looking at is getting built in the back corner. It's already under construction. It's maybe, I don't know, 50–60% complete. And they actually contacted me some time ago via telephone, and we talked, and somehow there was an understanding that they didn't need a permit. Code book does not allow that without a permit, nor does our ordinances. So that misunderstanding led me to, or seeing it there led me to stop and talk to them. You got a picture back here on page 16 of where it would sit if you drive straight in the driveway all the way to the back corner of the lot. Behind that Jeep is where that sits. And let's see, somewhere I wrote down we need for variances on
Does the
that.
Skinner property go up that embankment in the back there?
A little ways, yeah.
So it's
It
it's
actually
pretty
goes
steep,
most of
isn't it?
the- Yeah, very steep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes most of the way up that embankment, and then the
It-
yard behind them starts at their back line, a fenced in yard. So,
So we're looking here, this the Skinner property, it's still up that hill quite a ways.
Not quite a ways, but yeah, Kim, what would you say it is from the back of the driveway, or Pat, or whoever's on the phone there, from the back of the drive to
The property line in back of you.
well, you know what?
Behind the house?
It goes to the woods where you can kind of see the woods. It goes a little bit past the
Let's
tree.
guesstimate,
Okay,
let's guesstimate 35 feet from the back of that Jeep.
on up there.
Oh, yeah.
More than that, would you say more than that?
More than that? No.
Oh, it has to be more
No.
than that, because we have 32-foot structure. in there.
So it'd be what?
And then we've got 8 feet to the back of the property from the structure. So, what we're needing is,
Oh, yeah, it's like 38 feet then.
what we're needing is a couple variances here in order to, for that building to stay there is what we're asking. So we're asking for a side variance back to page 6 of a foot at the back corner. We're short a foot.
Okay, on this one here, the 10,
Go to the back corner right there.
Yeah.
Back right there, Chad. Put your hand toward the back right. Right there at that point. That garage is not parallel to that sideline. So at the back corner of the structure, we are a foot short from the sideline of what we need to be, just at the back corner.
right here.
That's correct. Going sideways. And
Okay.
then going to the back, we're 7 feet short.
Okay,
What's the actual distance then? I can't read what's written on that.
8, I believe the 8 feet
So
to be
it's a
the actual.
15-foot
supposed to be-
requirement,
That's right.
so we need an 8-foot variance on the back,
That's
and
right.
1-foot variance on the side, on the side.
7 at the back, 1 foot at the side.
Okay.
or not, is it 8 or 7?
7.
7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the back one.
That's right. And then there's one more, and our ordinance on it is a little bit less than clear, but we're supposed to be subordinate. This is an accessory structure, and an accessory structure is supposed to be subordinate to the main structure. So subordinate is means it's going to be smaller in every way, or smaller. It depends on how far you want to take that. It's definitely less in square feet. The only way we're not less is in height. And this is the front house is a 1-story house, maybe 13 at the ridge or something. The rear one is what you would call a story and a half, because it has space up and under the roof. Physical measurements were actually higher than the front house. So a person could question whether that's subordinate or not. In certain international zoning code, you're subordinate, you would say less in every way. So if we were to apply that in our case, the height is not less. So we maybe want to say a variance on the height.
So it shouldn't be higher than the main structure?
In theory, you wouldn't want to be higher than the main structure if you're going to be subordinate. You would be lower in, less in length, less in width, less in square area, and less in height. That'd be subordinate in every way, including use, but so we're really not subordinate in height. They have a long, low ranch house and really a story and a half on the outbuilding. It's not a 2-story. It's a story with a tall roof and space up under the roof for storage.
But the garage is on a higher elevation than the house is anyway.
The garage is also on a significantly higher elevation than the house. And so I don't think it's an unusual circumstance that where the unfortunate part is that they didn't realize the permit, and the permitting process helps us catch things like the setbacks and whatnot. There's a page 9 to this where Pat and Ken have given a little information as to why we're in this predicament, which is what we asked for on our application, why they need the variance. And they've stated, they did call me. I agree with that. And, just apparently a misunderstanding. And, there's the info.
Can we do this on just 2 variances then?
I would say, well, I would think you could do it on one that mentions 3 items, but that's however you want to do it. I would think, you know,
We've
it's,
been talking about how many variances you can have on a,
Chad, would a setback variance be one variance with two?
I think all it really needs are the 2 setback variances, because to me, based on what your zoning code says, it's a subordinate structure and the fact that it's a supporting structure for the primary use of the property, which is a residence. As long as it's being used as a private garage or workspace and not used in any type of commercial or customary home occupation, I would consider that to be an accessory use. So I think just the 2 setbacks is really all you really need to go on.
Does that answer your question, Bill?
okay, yeah. Sounds to me just do 2.
It works for me.
So no finished height variance.
We
It's a
really don't have anything that stipulates the height. The only thing we have is it says it has to be subordinate. So if we want to say subordinate, we don't care if it's a little higher or whatever. I don't care. It's just a matter of
A garage for storage on top is a subordinate structure to the main house. That's the way I see
I'm
it.
good with it.
Okay,
So we need a variance, a 1 foot variance on the side and a 7 foot variance on the back.
That's the way I understand it. Can you agree with that?
Yes, yes.
okay. Yeah, so was that your motion, Greg?
That was my motion.
Second? Second. Sorry. Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the variances? Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Joe's on the phone.
Oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's right.
On all the,
That's right.
okay,
By the COVID rules, we're supposed to be I'm sorry.
okay, call roll.
Vice Chairman Moore,
Aye.
I vote aye. Charles vote. Joe Runyon,
Aye.
okay, all ayes.
Is that
Oh, yes.
just a COVID rule? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, item 12, other business.
I have none, sir.
Okay. Chad?
No, sir, I have nothing new.
Okay. Anybody else, any other business?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, so second.
Vice Chairman Moore,
Aye.
I vote aye. Charlie? Aye. Joe?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. And we'll start the. We're at 5:30.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I'll talk to you about a permit.
Oh, do we just come in or what?
Should we,
Oh, you can do that or call me, make sure I'm here first.
okay,
Yeah, that'd be
okay,
good.
tomorrow. Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I mean, you won't sign all of them, all the originals.
Pass them over, please.
That's calling again.
Got a little reading to do today, Jim. That's scarier than it looks. Don't worry about it.
Hey, while you guys are in between it, with Corbin on Market Street, did his variance pass?
Whatever we called it, I think it was a special exception we called it, but yeah, that went through. Well, now wait a minute. You might be thinking about something else. You talking about the garage?
Yes.
No, we haven't, that hasn't been brought to us yet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I thought you were talking about the duplex.
Okay, thank you.
Such a
Hey, ready for the planning commission? With our nation battling COVID-19 and the passing of Executive Order 60 by Governor Lee, governments are allowed to temporarily hold virtual meetings to protect public health, safety, and welfare, and to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The public will not be allowed to access this meeting except by electronic means in order to limit the number of attendees to no more than 10 people as mandated. If you are interested in attending this meeting, you can use the following options. Zoom app meeting ID 847-9705-7943, password 54321, or call 1-929-205-6099 with the same meeting ID and passwords as Zoom, meeting ID 847-9705-7943, password 54321. Item 1, call to order. It's 5:30. We have a quorum. Item 2, reading of the procedure statement, which we did. Item 3, the regularly scheduled meeting for September 21st is being held by Zoom and/or phone conference call. To participate, please follow the options shown above. This meeting complies with Governor Lee's Executive Order 60. Item 4, roll call by the secretary.
Chairman Bowles,
Here.
Vice Chairman Jones, Secretary Davis here, Mr. Charles Davis here, Mr. Bobby Dawes here, Mr. Jim Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Joe Runyon.
Here.
Item 5, roll call of any phone participants.
Chuck Suttles here. Jimmy Harrison here.
Jimmy. Cindy Vincent, correct?
Yes.
Is there anybody else on the phone?
We
I
also
have my dad. I have my dad on my phone, just in case y'all need to ask him questions.
Gary Stenick.
Gary
Okay.
Stennett.
Gary, okay.
And we also have James Nevins with Doc Smith Surveying, and then me, Chad Reese, with Southeast Tennessee Development District.
Thank you, Chad.
Nevins and Chad. Okay. We're good? Yep. Okay, item 6, approval of minutes of the previous meeting from August 17th.
I make a motion, we approve.
See, we got Grady with eyes on here. Anything else on, we got a second? Okay, a second on the minutes. Any revisions, corrections, comments? Hearing none, call the roll.
Chairman Moore.
Here. Yes. aye.
Yes, that'd be an aye. Secretary Davis votes aye. Charles Davis. Bobby Dawes. Jim Lewis.
Aye.
Joe Runyon.
Aye.
All ayes.
Item 7, recognition of citizens. I don't think we have any other than what we have on the agenda. Item 8, communication from the chairman, none. Reports from staff and committees.
Not at this time.
Chad?
I will tell you, for our planning commissioner training this year, we typically hold that in person. What we're going to do in lieu of that this year is we're going to be posting some training materials on our website, and then we'll just have a small survey on SurveyMonkey for you to take, just to show that you participated in that. And then once that's completed, we'll issue your training certificates. So we plan to have those out hopefully maybe by the end of October, first part of November. And of course, you just need to do that by the end of December, so you'd have your 4 hours of training for this year.
Okay.
I heard training on the website. Is that what?
Yeah.
What he just said?
Yeah, the training, instead of going to the meeting and have it online by the end of October. So that's not for a month. Correct?
Yes, that's sort of our timeline. October, early November is what we're trying to
And
shoot.
then we have to have it completed by the end of December.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. No meal.
No, unfortunately not this time. Everybody asked me though, says since we're saving all that money, I said, I guess that means we'll have to have a better meal next year.
Oh,
Count me in.
we'll see. We're hoping
We
we're
don't
over
have
this
any more of
thing.
these viruses to contend with.
Okay, item 10, old business. 10A, consideration of short-term rentals.
We approved that, passed it on to the city council, and they've got to do 2 readings on that.
I think you've got a hearing. Did you have one hearing already? And you got the next one, or is the first one 5:15 or something? This will be the first one. Okay. You got scheduled. Okay. Item 10B, consideration of fast-paced healthcare.
The fast-paced healthcare, which has not been moving at such a fast pace, is still in the game. They actually ran into a pretty good snag, and that was that Lowe's had to approve they're going in there first. And
Yeah.
so they got hung up waiting for a Lowe's meeting. It eventually did get approved. And so I should have a estimate on that.
Is it going there where they push all the Bojangles?
That's right.
Yeah, they mow the grass down. They all look like they're ready to go.
They are, and so that should just break loose here any day, and should be
Hey,
going.
Dan. Hey, Dan, this is Chuck.
Hey, listen, let me ask you a
I drove
question. If you guys on the TV could talk really loud,
Or turn your volume
I
up.
can't turn the TV up. I have no way to turn the TV up. So if you'll help us out by talking really loud, that'd be really helpful.
I'm about to speak loud. Hey, Dan, this is Chuck.
Go, Chuck.
Okay. I drove by there today at the fast healthcare place, and it appeared as if they were preparing to put in their silt fence. So they must have a go-ahead.
Okay, putting in a silt fence.
Yep.
So that's kind of the first step. Okay.
Is that, them tanks they put in if that flood run out or something like that? Bojangles? How close are they to Bojangles parking lot? I don't know that answer.
Pretty
Well,
close.
They dug big holes down there and put them big plastic tanks in there for that stormwater runoff down there when they build Bojangles. So I don't know how far that pipe them tanks is out there, but you remember putting them tanks in there, Bobby? Ronnie went down there and asked what they putting them big tanks in there for, and they said stone rain runoff.
They're
But
buried.
it's on the south side of Bojangles. I don't know.
And they're buried.
Yeah, they buried.
So they're right adjacent. Their lot's gonna run right up there, I think.
I guess they didn't check with Bojangles before they start digging a ditch, some out there, because the tanks is out there somewhere. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You wouldn't think so. That's instead of one of those drainage basins.
Yeah. But, I don't know.
Okay, item 11, new business consideration of variance on Stinnett property, 994 Owasso Highway.
Okay, this is what Cindy and Gary Stinnett are here for. And in your packet, that's Chad's cue right there. In your packet,
Here we go.
he's got up on the screen what is the equivalent of your page 11 right there. Mr. Stinnett owns a significant piece of property out on Highway 60. He lives all the way at the back of it. Cindy is his daughter, and they would like to have a home spot for Cindy and her family on that property. We have a few ordinances that require that every new piece of property that is created have access to a public street in the city. So one of the hangups of this is if they're talking about a 2 acre or just under a 2 acre piece of ground, that's going to require a flag lot based on where they would like to place the home. The flag lot in our ordinances requires a 50-foot wide leg or pole or whatever you call it. And we have a limit of 500 feet. And so what they're asking for based on where they would like to set the home is a flag lot, a variance on the length of the flag lot of 336 feet. I might have done some bad. No, I think that's the right math. 336 feet additional over the 500 feet.
So their lot's 836 feet now?
They would be, that's right.
Okay.
And that would give them a long enough leg to get to where they want to have the home. They're not even planning on using it as a driveway, but we have an ordinance that requires it to be able to be made into a driveway. It doesn't have to be a driveway. She can still use the existing driveway, but that property has to at least have enough about it to adjoin that Highway 60 right there.
And when they have this survey, they gotta identify this
They do.
flagpole.
It would be in the deed. That's right, of that 2 acres or under 2 acres.
And the flagpole comes from Highway 60.
That's correct.
It's in essence an easement to a flag lot.
It is actually part of the lot.
Yes.
In a flag lot, it is part of the lot. So it becomes a way to install a drive and be able to drive in and out on that lot.
So if,
They just have to have access to that lot.
That's right.
so
They
if
don't
Gary,
have to make a road right
They don't have to make a road. They don't have to make a drive. They don't have to use it.
if Gary decides to sell all the property but this 2 acres, they can always come in there and put them a driveway to their property.
That's exactly right. And the reason this is even business here tonight is because we say you can't do that on anything longer than 500 feet. What they need to put it where they would like it to be, which is on a hill at that spot. This is up behind the warehouses out there by Mr. Hastings. And so in order for it to be there, that requires more than 500 feet, hence our variance from the Planning Commission for that additional length.
So you really need a 336 feet variance.
Variance, yeah.
Dan, what's the length on this?
The right
second-
way to say it, Dan?
Is that the only variance you need?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, what's the length on this second section right here? I can't make out what that says.
I can't either, Chad. That's interesting. I don't.
Well, the one's 385. So
If that,
from
Gary, do you remember what we wrote right
836.
there?
I think it's 501.
Well, if it's 501, my math is messed up and we need 385. 386.
386.
386. Let's go with 386.
I can make that 386 out of 336 real easily.
I can too. Thank you, Chad.
You're going with 886.
386.
Three.
Total
Plus
length.
500, yes, 886.
So the variance is only the 386.
886. And 886 is the flag driveway. Okay. Okay. So we have a motion to approve the variance.
So moved.
We've got a first, got a second,
Second the motion.
got a second. Got a second from Joe and Jim.
Too slow, Jim.
Okay, and any further discussion on 11A for the variance on the Stenner property?
Got a vote, Bill.
You can call the roll.
Chairman Moore,
Aye.
Secretary Davis, aye. Charles Davis, Bobby Dawes,
Aye.
Jim Lewis,
Aye.
Joe Runyon,
Aye.
all ayes.
Okay. Item 11B, consideration of new section to add to zoning on small townhouse developments.
Just trying to make sure we were done. I couldn't see if Chuck's screen was flashing green. I don't know if he was,
You wanted to say something on that or?
see where he's. Chuck, are you good out there?
I'm still here.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, I'm sorry. Now let me get back my head in game. Item B?
Yep.
Okay.
But he is gonna be able to get a fire truck back there.
Pardon?
He can get a fire truck back to that house.
Chuck?
Yeah.
Well, that will be a Chuck question right there.
That's standard
Okay,
place.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Chuck,
Can you get a fire truck in there, Chuck?
How wide's the road?
How wide's the road? Ain't got no road in there.
it's a driveway, Chuck.
How wide's the driveway?
Yep, he's got-
You talking about for the Stinnett property?
Yes, for the Stinnett
I'm
property.
talking about,
They get dump trucks up there all the time, so it's at least, 10 feet wide? They get dump trucks to bring, gravel up there once a year to re-gravel the driveway.
okay, so it's a gravel driveway?
Yes.
Getting a fire truck in, 10 feet wide was good enough to get one in. Being a gravel driveway, depending on wet conditions, whatnot, it's just best guess. We can get one in, but I believe that sits back well off the road more than 1,000 feet. Is that correct, Dan?
385 off the main road until you make the turn.
Chuck, you gotta really talk loud for us, please, okay?
Okay, how far is this property going to be off of Hiawassee Highway?
This property,
About 886 feet.
Okay. We would have to lay a what we call a driveway line in, and then we would have to rely on a pumper out of the street. So I don't see any problems. But depending on if it's just gravel on dirt and whatnot, depending on how well the road's upkept, as to whether or not we could go in.
Can you make a left-hand turn?
I can make a right-hand turn or left-hand turn, but I don't know what your
Okay, because
radius
there's a
is.
90-degree turn involved.
well, they're not even putting that road in now, but there will be down the road should somebody sell.
Okay. So we've got your approval.
Jerry's been living up there for years, so
No, I don't.
it's been a problem for years.
I'm not.
Okay.
Hey, the fire department's not saying we can do anything because we've not been apprised of this information. We've not had a chance to look at it, so we're not going to guarantee anything at this point.
Uh-oh.
Well, with me being a truck driver, I'm Cindy's husband. With me being a truck driver, I have driven all over the world, and I believe that there's no reason you couldn't get a fire truck up to that house.
Okay. Okay.
I just wish that I had been apprised of the information and I could have went out and looked at it, but not having known this in advance. I'm so sorry. I just can't give an answer. Now, I'm a truck driver too, so I can probably take a truck just about anywhere anybody else can. But, and I say this because now if the road is well kept, I don't see any reason why our trucks can't make it. Other than you being a truck driver, you understand the weight limits on a single axle truck, and our trucks are way overweight and are allowed to be by law. But when we get off road, then we have issues from time to time. But I don't have any problem as far as the length. I don't know the driveway. I don't know the road, so I can't answer those questions.
Okay, then we'll definitely keep that in mind in maintaining the driveway, make sure it's extra heavy duty just in case of an incident.
Well, I'll give you an example. You know yourself that you can't put more than 20,000 pounds on a single axle truck on the rear. 12,
Yes.
12 on the front.
Unless
we're
it's
carrying
got
about
14
30.
ply.
We're carrying, well, we can't slide, but we're carrying 31,000 pounds on the rear axle alone.
Okay,
So that's the reason I say that our trucks are not normal trucks that you see on the road.
I understand.
And
Chuck,
I'd be glad to
this-
come out and look. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, this is Dan. You have my apology for not getting that to you ahead. I should have done that. And, now are you familiar with Gary's place?
I know where the driveway takes off of Hiawassee Highway. I know where the driveway takes off, but I've never been on it or out it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry. I just have not been.
Right now, that's what we're talking about. If they're using the same driveway, you know, they're not even building the road right now. The reason for the, leg coming to the road is because we're forcing them to make that two pieces of property. We don't allow,
Two residences on.
yeah,
one
we
lot.
have a single, you know, use per, or building per property rule. In this case, if what they were asking to do was to cut it off and not even have it meet the road, we don't allow that. So, but right now the road is not in even going to be built, where it's going to get entered and then exited from by Gary's driveway.
Dan, let me ask the property owner a question, and it could perhaps resolve everything. If we came out and looked at it.
Hold on just a second. I thought we were done and Daddy got off the phone, but I'm calling him right back.
Okay, well, that's okay. Dan, what I was going to ask him when he gets on the phone, if you would ask, if for some reason the 90-degree left-hand turn is not doable, if he could widen that area a bit and help us out, I'd be good.
Chuck,
Okay, hey, Chuck,
90-degree
in that,
turn.
that is a 50-foot wide flag stem also, you know, so I get what you're saying. And
Pretty wide.
you know, so we've got, I don't know what that makes it in a radius, but you actually would have 50 foot. You could be from the right side of the 50-foot leg going south all the way to the south side of the leg going east, and still, you know, still be on that property. Gives you a pretty good radius right there to turn.
Well, I'm not worried about whose property I'm on. I'm worried about the 10-foot driveway is not 50 foot. So the 10-foot wide driveway, I'm just saying that if we have to make a 90-degree left-hand turn, if the property owner, if we go out and look at it, I'd be glad to say, yes, we can do this easily. Or can you add 8 feet over here in this turn, add us 8 feet of radius so that we can make the turn? I'm good with that, you know.
Yeah, I understand, Chuck, I understand about the 10 feet. I guess what I was saying is we can take that 10 feet from the far side of the 50-foot right of way to the far side of the 50-foot right of way after we make the 90. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Well, my concern is for the property owner, because if they build something and the fire apparatus can't reach it, then it equates to a structure outside of 5 miles of a fire department, and their insurance rating would not be a 3, it would be a 10, and they would be. I don't want anybody to feel like, hey, everybody in Dayton's got a 3, and why do I have a class 10 and I'm paying 3 times for insurance? I don't want anybody to feel like the fire department let them down. We've got to be upfront, and we've got to make sure that we can get a truck back there. And I'm certain we can, but we may have to modify it just a little bit, but we cannot. Now, if the folks want to go ahead and build anyway, and we can't get back there, that's fine if that's what they want to do. But they must know up front that if a fire truck can't get to them, ISO could declare them a class 10, and that instead of paying $600 or $800 a year, they might be paying $3,000 a year for insurance. So we've got to safeguard these people, make sure that they know that you know, if we need an extra 8 feet of gravel or whatever, you know, that's a small price to pay to save $2,000 a year, you know. And I just don't want anybody to be misled and then ISO come out and bite them, you know. I just don't want that to happen with them not knowing.
We understand exactly what you're saying, and we will definitely make precautions, but the driveway we'll be using, there won't be a 90-degree turn. That 90-degree turn is just a leg that we have to have, per se, that he would sell the whole property other than that access to our land, which we don't ever see that happening. But I do understand,
Okay.
and we will make precautions for that.
Okay, but I'm good with it if you're willing to, like, you know, if we need something, and I don't really think that we do, but should I come out and say, oh man, there's no way our truck will do this, you know, I'm hoping that you understand that my questions are for your well-being, in that I don't want you to do something and then get zapped with an extra couple grand a year, you know. So, you know, if we would have need 4 feet more in this turn that Dan spoke of 90 degrees or whatever, and you said we weren't using that, but I just don't want anybody to be blindsided and think that the fire department, you know, let them down. We just can't do that. My concern here is for you, not for the fire department.
Yes, we understand, and we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, and
Okay, thank you, Chief.
for
Thank you,
the,
Chuck.
for the city council, land goes for hundreds of years. It's, you're doing something now that's going to be dealt with in future generations. And just that, you know, that we did in the county, we did subdivisions where the fire marshal could actually sign off and say, this road is not accessible, you know, and to go that route and have some sort of stamp or certificate that says we understand that this, we're not going to have fire service and we're not going to sue the city if we don't have fire service. But in 100 years, this property will still be there.
May I speak to that? Is Susan Arnold on here?
No.
Okay, in the absence of that, we had a similar situation of someone that wanted to be in the city, and they were willing to sign a paper saying, you know, I understand that you can't provide us fire protection. They were willing to sign a paper, and she made some statement with regard to the fact that that signature or that release cannot be extended to a future buyer. And so I think that should be run by her, but I don't see any reason why we can't make it to that home site, even if it costs us just a small bit of touch up. You know, you know, I just don't see any reason. But I can't answer any questions because I'm not driven the road, nor I've just never been on it. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think we've covered that. And Chuck, you're gonna go out and look at the property then and just advise us?
Well, what I would recommend, what I would ask the planning commission to do, if they're so inclined to approve this, is to approve it subject to, you know, Adam and I going out and looking at the road. I'll even take a truck out there if I need to, and if we can access it, then so be it. But I would ask the planning commission in the essence of time for the property owners to approve or disapprove, you know, whatever they're going to do on this, and I don't see any problem with it, but if they approve it subject to us being able to get a truck to it, or subject to the homeowner saying, yeah, we can widen this section to 12 feet or 15 feet, whatever, this little corner, whatever we need to do. And that way that when ISO sees it on the map, and they ask me if we can access it, I can say yes. And that is so beneficial for the property owner. You know, it's just way beneficial.
Well, Chuck, this is Chad Reese. What I was going to tell you is one thing, we don't have a plat on this yet. We're just currently looking at the variance for the length of the flag stem to see if it's possible. So when we get the plat, that might be something that the surveyor could work with, and the property owner showing maybe where a proposed driveway location might be. Because the only thing we don't know about the property since it hasn't been surveyed is what the percent grade is of where the driveway will be. And according to the regulations, that flag stem has to be on a percentage grade that would be acceptable for the construction of driveways and streets. So as long as it meets that, you know, as far as the layout of the driveway and the width, I mean, that's something that could easily be fixed and negotiated with the property owner.
Chad, I appreciate that, and I totally agree.
The purpose of tonight's meeting was to see if this is something y'all would approve a variance on before they spent money on surveys and chopping off a piece of property that they then could not get a variance to do. So, and then they would have to move it to a different place on the property. So we're really not even, thank you, Chad, we're not getting a variance tonight. We're asking if this is a variance y'all would give in order to let them proceed with dividing this off where they want it. That's the goal here.
But I don't give Chuck time to go down, the chief go down there and see it. I mean,
Pardon?
that ought to give the chief time to go down there and visualize and see the property, drive the driveway,
Well,
make his decision from there.
yeah, but the thing is, what we're talking about, the flagpole is not gonna get built. I mean, it may get built later on, but it probably take dozer work, et cetera. But the driveway that's gonna go to the home is the driveway that's in existence.
I realize that.
Yeah, okay.
I understand that.
Yep.
I understand what they're gonna use.
Yep. Okay.
And my concern is, or my question is, how are we getting to Mr. Stitt's place? If he's got fire protection now, and yeah, I mean, how do we not know that his place is not, that he's not paying a 3-level ISO rating in the city? I mean, undoubtedly, they must be able to get to it now, to his place.
Yeah, he has the approved insurance, you know, for the fire protection. He does have that. The cheaper insurance.
The fire chief again. I know that he does because he is not flagged. We get some red flags on some folks from time to time, and he is not currently. And I just don't understand not seeing the property. I don't understand the addition and what that might add to it. But as far as the fire department is concerned, I will drive out there in the morning and check it, and I'll call whoever I need to, or whoever Mr. Moore tells me to call, and say, hey, we're good. And, or we're not, but I'm certain we'll be good. But, because I don't want to hold anybody up. I just don't want anybody to do something that really bites them later. And when the fire department should have done his due diligence and said, hey guys, be careful here. You know, I don't want anybody to ever think the fire department let them down. So I'll be there tomorrow if somebody wants me to be.
Okay, well, what time would you like Cindy to meet you out there in the morning?
I get to work at 6 a.m. So pick a time.
It don't matter to me.
I'll be at work at 3, so I can't be there.
You can even call me on your way. So
I just think that Jim Lewis needs to come with me.
I want you to come with him.
I'll show you way out there, Chuck.
Okay.
At 6 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's on
We'll
board.
be there about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
You two work that out.
About 10.
guys, I don't want to get my cell phone number over this, but if anybody would pass my cell phone number on to the property owner, and they can call me anytime tomorrow, and I will be there within 5 minutes.
Okay.
I guess the bottom line
Is
is,
this a
guys, as far as I'm concerned, if they wanna put a flag lot where they wanna put it, we'll approve that flag lot with whatever flagpole they need to access that lot with that.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
Second.
Now, if, just like Bobby said, if the fire truck couldn't get to Gary Extended's house, they've been living up there how long, Cindy?
20 years.
Yeah, they've been living up there over 20 years. Somebody's got a problem.
So
But
this
the
is-
bottom line is, I don't have a problem, and we've done, as far as I'm concerned, we voted to approve it.
Yeah, we already approved it, so I don't know what the scramble is.
I don't either.
Okay. We're gonna move ahead to 11B. Consideration of new section to add to zoning on small townhouse developments.
All right, gentlemen, this is a application from Mr. Harrison to make a change in the zoning ordinances. We're going to start on page 12. And we're gonna walk through this a little bit. I'm gonna start with a definition. Joe and anybody online, you should have this also, okay? This is page 12. A townhouse definition, a single family dwelling unit constructed in a group of 3 or more attached units in which each unit extends from the foundation to the roof and with open space on at least 2 sides. That's an IRC, International Residential Code, or IBC, International Building Code, definition of a townhouse. If you go to the next page, well, before we go to the next page, that would mean I could build what you would call a duplex, and I could call it a townhouse by IRC rules. So as long as I have the proper firewall between and the space, the yard in front of me, I either open to a yard or to a right of way in the front and the back. I can build it. It could look like a duplex and be a townhouse. I could build 10 in a row and have 10 connected, and it's still a townhouse by building code definition. That's a little bit different than the original concept of a townhouse where, you know, you went up to Virginia or somewhere and you saw a whole bunch of connected houses on the side of a hill and each one had a wall stuck up. It's a similar concept, except the size of those developments has changed quite a bit over time, okay? So if we go to the page 13, townhouse by our zoning code definition, a group of single-family residential dwellings of 1 or more floors having or appearing to have a common wall with an adjacent or similar unit or units. So I could build a townhouse that is 2 units, 3 units, and it's not a triplex, and it's not a multifamily home by definition. It's a townhouse. I could build 4, 5, 6. By building code definition, they're considered single-family units. By our zoning code, they're considered a townhouse development. Okay, so on, let's, page 14, page 15, and page 16 and 17 is where we have taken the townhouse development rules and modified them just a little bit and added a new, what we would like to do is, or what Mr. Harrison would like to do is take maybe section 1408, which is fee simple residential townhouse development, and just make a new section called 1408B, leaving 1408 alone. So that would stand alone for a townhouse development of larger size. We would like to call this next one perhaps fee simple small residential townhouse development and call it 8 units or under. So I think based on a few changes the state has made, if I want to build a triplex in the state of Tennessee at this point, I have to go to the state with those set of prints, and it has to go through Nashville and be approved at the fire marshal's office. If I want to do a fourplex, that's the way it has to be now. So anything more than a duplex. If I do townhouses, I don't have to do that. There's an additional level of fire protection in terms of the wall between them. And so what this proposes, if we were to write a 14.08B, which would follow this 14.08 in the code, we marked it up like this here. Fee simple small residential townhouse development. And then we would define it. And I wrote that down in below, and excuse my sloppiness on this. We'll get it obviously typed if we get anywhere, but a fee simple townhouse development shall be 8 units or less, can be in an R2, R3, or R4. And a fee simple townhouse development shall be according to the restrictions in the zone that it sits in. So really what that's asking for is nothing different than what we already have for apartments. It's just allowing the same setbacks for a townhouse as it would be for an apartment in that zone. So if I have something sitting in an R2 zone and I want to put something that looks like a duplex, but is actually a townhouse there, I can. The difference for us is that the owner would be the person living in the place more often than not, because I'm going to buy it'd be similar to me buying a single family house, except I'm buying a townhouse. And I have a little piece of postage stamp grass in the front that I can mow or put bushes in or do whatever I want. I also have very similar to apartment style living. I just have it in something I own. If you go to page 18, you're looking at a townhouse development, or you may actually be looking at several townhouse developments. It could be one, in which case it would meet our regulations under 14.08. If each one was an individual townhouse, it wouldn't, in the proposal meet our definition under 14.08 B, 14.08B. If you go to page 19, you're looking at one that sits on that street that you were looking at on page 18. That one is actually 3 units together. It's not a triplex by definition because it's not apartments. Each lot has a driveway, a 2-car garage, and a very small piece of grass. Each one is an individual piece of property, just like a townhouse. Chad's got it on the screen there if you want to see it there. And then there's 2 more pages of examples of that. In our regulations right now, we don't allow anything like this because what this would have to be is apartments based on our regulations, unless we went to the 14.08, which is going to require additional parking outside of the parking already provided. It would require common space that these don't require. It would require more space on the end of each unit than what the zoning already requires. So if we go to an R2 or an R3, we're going to require side setbacks. If we go to a townhouse development and we wanted to put, even if it's a 100-foot lot or a 150-foot lot, we wanted to put some townhouses there that we could divide and sell, we would have a much beefier common space requirement, setback requirement, and common space required and additional parking required than what we require for apartments. So by nature of our own ordinances, we're ruling out something that seems to be a step up in what could be, not what will be. We can't control entirely, what the builder's going to want to do. The way we have it written now, we're precluding anybody from doing what I think is a nice subdivision or townhouse development that could allow us to have something other than apartments if the builders would build it. And that's, that's a.
Man, what's the difference on page 20 here than the woods down on Main Street? What's the difference in these two structures?
The ones on Beverly Funeral Home,
They've got a garage, don't
they do. As far as I know, those are apartments. Those are a duplex. I don't know that those are townhouses, and I don't know that those, my understanding, are owned by the same owner. I don't know that they have there's a much beefier firewall between a townhouse than there is between apartments.
they? Do they have 2 units in one building?
They do. Right. And there's,
I don't see any difference in what you're showing here on page 20. I don't see the difference. Are there
Between-
any difference
between that and a duplex,
on this picture you got right here on page 20?
right?
And the ones that's down there
Pretty close.
behind Vanderwalls.
That's right. Okay, so I can't speak to the ones behind Vanderwalls as to whether they're a duplex or a townhouse. Again, the definition of townhouse speaks to the construction between the two.
I understand it's got to have a certain wall between them.
It's got to have a beefier wall than a duplex would, and it has to have either a public way or a yard at least 2 sides. So the front and back, typically there's property owned on the front and back. And how those were built, I'm not entirely sure. I did the electrical inspections on them, but I didn't pay attention to the wall between them. So I don't know if those are actually townhouses or if they're a duplex. They're at least a duplex. Okay, they may not be townhouses. The key difference, while you can't see it here, is there's a double wall between all these apartments, okay, in terms of fire protection. And then 2, these are sold with the yard and the driveway, whereas Mr. Deals over there rented out units. So a townhouse can be rented or sold. It doesn't make it a townhouse by building code definition, whether it's sold or rented. It's the type of construction. Our zoning ordinance has heavier requirements for a townhouse than it does for apartments. So if this was in Mr. Dill's case over there, if he wanted to sell those off as individual units, I'm not aware that he could over there because I'm not aware of his construction and all that. But if he wanted to build one like this over there and sell them off as an individual unit, you would own from that driveway this way or from that driveway this way. And that would, but as far as what his are,
I guess just looking at them with the naked eye, it looks the same. Now, I understand about the firewall and the different walls on each side. And I would figure from that standpoint, people want that separation anyway because of the noise factor, with the 2 places together. But that's just me. I don't know.
so the real question comes in is if Mr. Deal wanted to sell one of those off, would that be a good thing or a bad thing? That's what the question becomes, because these are built in a way that's going to allow more fire protection. This is a slab on grade in this case. Yeah. And so then there's a double firewall between them, and it goes up and it touches to the underside of the roof deck. And then 4 feet back on each side of the roof deck is a flame retardant plywood so even if we do have a vent in the attic, it doesn't burn through at the wall for a given amount of time that allows Mr. Suttles to get there with his truck and put it out. No comment.
Okay.
So that's the question is.
Well, that's. I mean, I was just looking at the picture.
Yeah. Well, the difference is internal.
Yeah.
And then the difference becomes ownership. So these are sold off. Typically, don't have to be, but typically they're sold off. It's a pretty popular move. This particular development, you can see how many there are in here. Most of those sold before they were finished. And,
Most likely, if it doesn't have that, they're gonna sell the unit as the whole unit, as two places, as one unit, the two, if it's not got the interior.
they would have to, they wouldn't have any choice, and then it would have to, you'd be selling. But these were not built that way. It's a pretty nice little street, and the big advantage of this is if I'm going to Oklahoma to see my grandkids for a month, I've got somebody next door, or maybe on both sides, that's watching my place. It's a pretty popular concept with young first-time home buyers that are in that league. And it's a very popular concept with retired people that want somebody close by if they're not home, or if their wife falls or whatever, So the question is, do we want to make a provision where we can build those or not? And you can see Chad's got on the screen, and you can back up and see where we've crossed out some of the requirements that are in the larger and would remain in the larger.
Long story short, how did we decide on Jimmy's place up there on College Hill over there?
If you guys are not interested in this would affect Jimmy in a way that will let him sell his units off individually. And if that doesn't, if you're
From what
not.
I understand, he's done all as far as the firewalls and stuff. That's all he had. That's not correct. You said it's down in internal anyway. That's not correct.
That's correct.
So if he's done all of that, he meets all those standards, then we shouldn't have a problem with it.
Well, he can't sell them off because he doesn't meet our zoning regulations currently. This would allow him to meet it currently, and it would allow builders to build essentially duplexes that you can sell. Individual units in. That's what it would allow. It would help Jimmy in that case and solve his problem. If this doesn't fly tonight, he's doing condos and is kind of done because he's out of time. Those are essentially done. They're not complete. They're essentially complete. So
I believe the council have to vote on that. We can't change it.
you're correct. Would only be making a recommendation to the council. That's all we would be doing.
Where do condos fit in here then?
Chad, you want to speak to that?
Answer that, Bill. So first of all, I wanted to address what they have up here on the screen. I've been looking at what these proposed changes that actually do in terms of the zoning ordinance. I noticed that it mentioned they keep side setbacks for R2, R3, and R4. So what your current ordinance says is that buildings have to be separated by 30 feet. All of your side setbacks in those zoning districts are 10 feet. So basically you're just gaining 10 feet between buildings, or you could say 5 feet on either property line. This also takes away the additional parking that was required, assuming that they would have parking in the front and in a garage unit. It also reduces the setback by 5 feet on the front. But there's nothing in this ordinance now that precludes doing the type of townhouse developments like you see in these following pictures here like this. There's nothing that precludes this. It's just a difference in setbacks. And I think the issue that's come up is for Mr. Harrison's property, a lot of those were a little bit shy of the flyers. Here's an example. I think this was the what he had there. And what he had is this is the Harrison property, isn't it, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah, so what he had there, he had the building separation come out to be about 24 feet. So that was just 6 feet shy of what the required separation was. As far as lot size go, we go down all the way to a minimum of 20 feet wide, which is what he has here, and 100 feet deep, which he has more than that here. So what the issue was on this one happens to be the setback between buildings and the requirement where you have additional parking, off-site parking required. Now, to answer your question about condos, of course, with condos, you're selling the unit itself. So that means just only the portion of the building. Everything else here, like you'd see here, becomes a common open space area. So in the same way as an apartment, everyone has rights to all the property that's there. So these would too, if they were to be condos. You're just selling. Did I answer your question, Bill?
The answer to your question. Ed,
Yes.
weigh in on what you think of this on 14.08B.
So as I was saying there, all it's going to do is give you additional area to build in. It's going to make it a little bit higher density than what you currently require. So it's just changing the separation between buildings. I don't know about the front to front and end to end requirement because some of these with townhomes, I guess you could internal streets by the way some of this is written. But the only other thing I saw that makes a change to this would be, it would also take out the sidewalks. That was the other proposed change. So basically this change is only going to give you an additional 10 feet, reduce the separation of buildings from 30 down to 20. Now the front to front, end to end and so forth like that, if you take all of that out and you have buildings like a set of townhomes that face one another, if you take that out, I don't know how that really comes into play if you don't have a street in between those homes as far as the building separation. So back to back would require 60 feet. So for example, you have a townhome development that has streets on either side and the townhomes back up to one another. This required them to be separated by 60 feet. If we took that out, we'd be talking about a rear property line of, I think most of these zones have about 15 feet. So they'd probably reduce it down to about 30. You'd have rear yards of back-to-back townhomes separated by about 30 feet.
So if the goal of this is to get a ownership style, call it a duplex or call it a whatever you want to, do you feel like that's met in this or not?
Well, either way, I mean, whether you go with the proposal that you have here or what they currently have, either way, you're still going to end up being able to subdivide townhome lots. What it really boils down to is, do you want to have a higher density with units closer together and do away with that additional off-street parking? So that's really the difference between this and what the proposal would be.
And that would pertain only to 8 or less.
And when you say 8 or less, do you mean in a building or in terms of an entire development? And how
8 or less townhouses, individual townhouses. And the reason it becomes an issue because if we take Mr. Harrison's, for example, right there, or a number of others we have around town, we could build that density in apartments. What we're really saying is we're going to allow townhouses on 8 or less where we're already allowing apartments at that density or more. That's the difference as I see it.
Yeah, and then like we talked about on the phone too, the thing is though, you are selling land with this. So however little land you leave for each unit, that's the only place that they have owned. So if they want to have, a patio on the back or a grill out in the backyard, that's the only space they have to use. Whereas with apartments, any green space or open area is open to everyone to use. So that's the only concern I have with getting too small on lots is not having that additional area because you're restricting how much each homeowner has. Not saying I'm against it, I'm just saying that's just something to take into consideration.
Are we any closer to?
Where we on this one now?
Yeah.
Sound like to me like we might need to study the advantages of this before we.
Because I don't know that we're any closer to getting these that he has up on College Street.
Well, that's kind of not the whole point. I mean, this isn't just for Jimmy. So if we're going to make this change, we need to be sold on this change, whether it fits Jimmy or not. And we've already concluded that Jimmy has, enough variances that's too much.
Too many.
So, I'm not as worried about that as I am about this is a good, I feel like this is a good vehicle, but then we need to be sold on it being a good vehicle.
It's
before
showing
we-
about, yeah, in the future,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not about.
We're currently precluding style of construction that's becoming very popular, that has more pride of ownership than what an apartment does, and we won't let it go in where we already are allowing apartments, you know. So that's my point on this, whether this fits Mr. Harrison at this point or not. Now, if we're gonna go, I still think it's something we really need to look at, whether we have it cleaned enough or not. I don't know. That's up to you guys to figure out, but I really think it's a avenue we need to pursue at some point, if not tonight. So if we're not sold tonight, we don't need to pursue it tonight, but at some point, we probably need to look at something like this.
We're not ready to send it to city council by any means.
It apparently sounds that way, so I would say we probably need to.
Hey, Dan,
That's what
Well, it
Hey,
keeps
Dan,
coming
this
up.
is Chuck.
Seems like we've been working on this for a year.
We don't have a workshop very soon, I think. The council's supposed to have a workshop or something, other maybe run somebody by the council, see what they think about it to start with, you know, but.
I think Mr.
They got firewalls in that, up on the College Street.
Mhm.
He put them in there when they built them.
He filled it to the townhouse requirements.
I thought he built them on the apartment.
No. He built them to townhouse requirements.
Specs. Yeah, the fire chief said that they're really safe. He's
I
inspected.
don't know. I don't know.
Predated me. I have a statement from Chuck and a statement from, I think it was Jeremy, from State Farm Marshal's office. But anyway, those guys inspected it. and
Yeah, I didn't know.
What they said,
Yeah.
he's built them to the standard, so that's what we got. But this is a, you know, we're not here to make an ordinance for one incident, you know, so
Well, no, it's for the future.
we're either sold on a style of construction that's coming down the pipe or we're not.
Yeah.
That's my-
hey, Dan, it's Chuck. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Talking about the number of units in a townhouse, you are exactly correct. They're all considered single family residences. But I'm going to bring up Bryan College. There's no issue of parking up there at all, but they've got 8 or more units in a row. And if you limit the number of units, the city's already allowed them to do 8 or more in a row in 2 different buildings. And so I don't know, I don't know if we should go below that number or not.
What was that last statement, Chuck? You don't know if it should what?
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear the last thing you said. Okay,
I
so
said we've allowed. Go ahead.
those are actually not townhouses. That's called a townhouse style dorm is what it's called, but it's actually an apartment style dorm. They're really not built as townhouses, and that's kind of a separate animal in that it's an apartment and actually, yeah. So that's a little bit different animal.
Well, I mean, they just call them townhouses, so I don't understand the difference. But anyway.
Well, the difference, Chuck, is with a townhouse, you're selling a piece of ground in addition to the unit. What you're talking about are just essentially dorm rooms on a campus.
I understand that, but they call them townhouses, and they were approved as townhouses. And that being said, if they are truly townhouses, what is to preclude Brian from selling this unit to this family and that unit to that family? I don't understand.
Well, first they would have to meet the minimum requirements in the zoning ordinance as far as a lot size and dimension in order to sell off the piece of property and the unit itself. Absent selling the piece of property and the unit itself, you can go by the horizontal property regime in Tennessee State Code, which allows you to sell them as condos, where you're only selling the building. You have a homeowners association that governs the majority of the property surrounding those multiple units. And then everyone would share in the ownership of that, but they would actually only own the unit itself, the building, but you wouldn't own the front yard and the rear yard.
Yeah, those are actually called a townhouse style dorm. That's just a name to the college, but they are not townhouses. They don't meet the definition of townhouses. They're not constructed as a townhouse, and the building code has a definition of a townhouse, and they're not in. It's just a name they use. It's a townhouse style dorm. That's all it is.
Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't, maybe I shouldn't have spoken to that, but I never saw the plans to them, and I truly didn't know the actual construction. I don't know who all built them or whatever, but you know, I just know they called them townhouses, so I just assumed maybe they were.
There is one other element to that thought, though, Chuck, and that is we're not precluding 8 or more. This would just be a separate set of rules for under 8. It wouldn't preclude more than 8.
Okay, that was my question, because you know, when you look at the code, if you truly build townhouses, you could have 100 of them in a row and still meet the code, the fire code and the building code. So, you know, I don't know what you're going to do about city ordinance, but I just want everybody to know that, you know, if you're going to say townhouses and they're truly built as townhouses, if you want to limit the length of these things, you need a number, you know.
Yeah, the only thing this would do, it would not eliminate 14.08, which calls for a townhouse development. This would just add another section that would make it a little bit different rules for a smaller townhouse development. It doesn't limit or anything. It just allows lighter common areas, parking, and green space for less than 8 in a unit.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Motion time, I guess, table or whatever you want.
Well, we always keep talking about the workshop to go over this and get it taken care of. But I don't know that we are positioned to make a.
It sounds to me
I'm
like
with you.
It sounds to me like it's a good idea for a small townhouse development, whether it fits Jimmy or not.
I'm with you. That's why it's on here.
And it sounds like it's a good idea to me, but what's the city council think about it?
Well, I think it's up to us to make a recommendation. So if we're not sold on making them a recommendation, then I don't want to move forward.
Well, I don't have a problem in making a recommendation, send this up to the city council, but you're gonna have to explain to the city council what's going on and what drove this 1408B. I don't have a problem with it. I don't.
Do you understand?
Yes, I'm listening, be quiet here. I have no problem with it, I'll link to that.
I don't want you to
No.
not have a problem with it. I want you to be sold on a good idea. If you're not sold on a good idea, I think we need a whole.
I don't have any objection to it. I'm trying to grasp what problem it's going to solve or what.
You think that's where the building's going, Dan?
You know, there's a lot of it going there. And, yeah,
Where they can sell.
but, you know, I'm gonna give you an illustration, and I'm old school, okay? And it's my yard, it's my trees, it's my privacy, it's my pool, it's my back porch. And the young people aren't that way, and a lot of the senior citizens aren't that way. And it's, you know what? I don't have to pay for all that. I can pay for this and use all that, and I can have that pool, and I don't care.
It's a whole lot easier to mow a 5-foot strip than it is a 500-foot strip.
And then the real beauty for the senior crowd is that, you know what? I'm going to Florida. I'm going to my grandkids are, and when I'm gone, my place ain't sitting off in the woods by itself, and there ain't nobody it's already mowed, it's already, and so there's a huge advantage to this. And I'll tell you what probably be helpful with it before we postpone this. We get rid of this COVID, so we'll take a drive and look at some. I mean, I think that's just a good.
I'd like to get it done before that.
Well, it's
I
up
don't know
to
if
you
this thing's
guys.
ever gonna end.
I want a good ordinance that's gonna hold up and not be a problem down the road, and Chad's better at that than I am. I just, I've seen other construction types, I know what's out there, and I think this gives us an alternative if the builders will build it. Up there back to College Street, he could have put more units in apartments and conformed to our code and just kept them as apartments, but we won't allow, our ordinance doesn't allow the density he has as a townhouse.
But you don't have any builders that have come to you wanting to do this.
Not with these townhouses at this time.
Okay.
This is Jimmy Harrison. Can I speak for a minute? Maybe this will help.
Bill, Jimmy wants.
Yeah, go ahead. Just speak up, Jimmy.
Okay. My concern is on like, if you take 100-foot lot, which most lots in the city are 100 or less feet wide on the city street, then on the restrictions for a townhouse, for a big townhouse subdivision, your one restriction is you have to stay off the lot lines 35 feet on each side. Well, that restricts you to only being able to build on 30 feet of the 100-foot lot, which is in essence a single family dwelling. If you if it's zoned an R3 and you got a 10-foot setback, then you can build 3, possibly 4 units on it. And the ownership of the individual unit would make the price of the townhouse, as far as the city goes, would be worth more, and it'd increase city tax revenue, and also make a lot better looking building because you have owners and not renters.
Does anybody else do this? Any other community, any other municipalities?
Well, this one you're looking at is in Knoxville,
This is what Knoxville does?
Yeah, well, I did.
Which you're familiar with, I'm
I'm
sure.
very familiar with it. That's why I know. So if you look at page 18, I can tell you, and this is a really unfair statement because our prices are not consistent with theirs, but I can only tell you what I know. I did most of the inspections on most of the places on that street right there. And I can tell you that mostly all of these sold, but they don't even hit the market before they're finished. And I can tell you that most of them sold between 240 and 280. That's unfair to say because it's going to be a different price here. But I can tell you that's a nice street to drive down rather than in a, if this was in an R3, you would be looking at, just apartment buildings. I would much rather see something like a street, and it is a street full. These are taken. The problem is the Google view from the street is much older than the aerial. So this is one off that street, and that street's in full and done in a short period of time. So does it happen elsewhere? Yeah. Is there some in Chattanooga? Yeah, there is. There's some downtown Chattanooga, but they're different than this in looks and stuff. But Chad and I talked today about planned unit developments, which is another higher density way of making housing more affordable at all levels. So these are nicer homes, but it's more affordable than a acre lot with and so that's what you're getting. We currently don't, our zoning ordinance wouldn't allow anything like this, but it'll allow a duplex. So, we wouldn't allow a triplex. Well, we would in the right zone, but it's going to go to State Farm Marshal's office and everything. So, but we wouldn't allow a townhouse ownership style triplex. You see what I'm saying? Because we would have to have built-in extra parking and things we don't have to have for a apartments. That's the difference. it allows, if the builders will go there, and I can't say they will, I can't say what the other builders here will do, but if the builders would go there, it would allow us a nicer alternative to an apartment in the same space on the same lot. That's the goal of that. I think it's marked up to where we would get there without too much unintended consequences, but I really can't say. I don't have that much insight on it. That's why I was asking Chad's opinion. So.
I think the city council needs to decide on it. So,
Well, eventually,
Well, they do, and they either get a recommendation or they don't, so however you want, how you want to say that.
I think we need to recommend it to go to the city council.
okay, that's your motion.
That's my motion.
Second.
You get 3 votes, that's all you need, ain't Oh, Joe's, I forgot about Joe being on.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
need 4.
No, we need, this is the planning commission. We need 4.
Dan, I had a question for you. In these proposed changes, I noticed there was nothing proposed changing the minimum square footage of the unit, nothing proposed for the minimum width of the lot or the minimum depth. And also it says you can only have 9 units per acre, which per acre, if you divided that out, that'd be over 4,000 square feet apiece. And we allow the lots to go all the way down to 2,000 square feet. So already, just based on even that letter C, that limits to how much you can do regardless of the lot size.
Let me get back to that page, Chad. You talk about that where it says 9,000 per acre?
But, well, it says 9 per acre.
I'm sorry.
43 out of 43,560 square feet. If you divide that by 9, that means you would have for each of the 9, 4,808 square feet. But we allow townhouse sizes to be as small as 2,000 square foot lots. So
in your math, did you calculate in the?
It wouldn't matter what the outside setbacks or setbacks between buildings are, you're still limited into how many you can put on that size of property.
I'm not sure what your, I think I'm following you a little bit, but I'm not sure what your conclusion is there, Chad.
Well, let me give you an example. Let me pull up my calculator here. So for example, on Mr. Harrison's property, I think the lots, if I recall correctly, were about 100 by 120 and he had 2. So that's a total of 24,000 square feet. So if you go by this density requirement of no more than 9 per acre, that limits him to 4.9 units total. And he's got 6. So even with the changes you're proposing on setbacks, he's still limited, that he's beyond what the maximum is for the property anyway.
Okay. I'm comfortable with a hold on this. I'm comfortable. Let's get.
Where you go to the city council?
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to get make sure we got our details right. That's what I don't want to send something up that's going to have problems, and I don't want to be.
You need to explain it.
I don't mind explaining it, but I'm not, I don't want to recommend a change that we're not sold on. I don't want to recommend a change that you guys don't feel is going to be a good change for the city. I'm not.
I think the change is going to be good. It's going to get ahead of the curve. If this type of construction is going to be warranted. But I'm not sure we have all everything in there it should be.
Okay.
And,
so let's get everything in there it should be.
Have you talked to Chad about this in any detail?
Not really in detail. We talked the other day, but I had only sent it to him. I didn't give him enough time.
Oh, okay. So he's still got it to look at if there's some other things that need to be considered.
I think I only gave it to him like Thursday, so okay. Chad, would you like more time on this?
Well, I mean, I just think there's some things that you still need to consider that even if you do change that, I don't know that you're going to accomplish exactly what you're wanting to. That is if you don't look at changing these other things like minimum square footage of units, the 9-unit maximum per acre, and some other changes like that. Because all you're making it do is you can build closer to the outside boundary of the development and put your buildings closer together. But based on the size of the minimum units and lots, you're still somewhat restricting down to how many units could actually be built, regardless of how close they could be built together. So in other words, I'm saying there's probably some other changes that would have to be made to accomplish, I think, what you have in mind than just these proposals here.
I didn't get a second, no, yeah.
Well, I gotta get my second back.
It'll take a second back.
So, say table it and get some more input from Chad and.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Need a motion on that?
Or whatever.
Motion on hold.
Put it on hold.
Okay.
Put it on hold.
Okay. Oh, item 11C, consideration of code change proposals.
All right, so by state law, you're not allowed to be any more than 7 years outside of the current code cycle. The current code cycle right now is the 2018. The new cycle switches every 3 years. January 1st of 2021, the new code cycle will be the 2021 code cycle. So at January 1st, we'll be more than 7 years out of the current code cycle. For the most part, we're on the 2012 code cycle. So we have to do something. My proposal is that we move to the 18. I can make this as painful and long or as short and easy as you want to, but there's the 18. This is the 2017 electrical code. That's where we would go to. The electrical code is a little bit different than the building code. This is everything but this one is the building code family. Okay. Everything there is the 2018. That includes fire code, building code, residential code, plumbing, mechanical, gas, energy code. There's a few exceptions that the state is making, and what my proposal is, and it's all right here, is that we keep in step with the. I think I gave each one of these. That's this package. That's correct. That's this thing, and I've just took the ordinances we currently have, and for draft purposes, just scratched and wrote over them. But essentially what we would be doing would be keeping 100% in step with what the state has done in terms of their acceptance or non-acceptance of the current changes. There's a lot of flack in the 2018 building code. There's some energy restrictions that drive a lot of construction method changes and add a lot of cost to homes. Some jurisdictions have jumped into those, some have jumped into them and back out, and some have just stayed away from them. The state has decided, and you have a document in here that speaks to that effect, but they have decided to embrace the 2018 code and then replace the energy tables found in the energy code and residential code with the 2009 energy code tables. That's a big change because it's the energy code tables that drive the alternate methods of construction that are driving up the cost. There's also a thing called a blower door test required in the 18 code and a duct tightness test. And those are essentially computerized air. One's a vacuum and one's a pressure test, but checks the leakage on your duct system in your house. So they make those optional. The state makes those optional, whereas the 18 code makes them mandatory. Our proposal would be to make those optional and not mandatory. I would either, with the help of Susan, obviously, either plagiarize or copy the state's document exactly on that in order to be right in sync with state law, not be below what state law requires, but at the same time, not increase the things that would increase the cost of a house significantly. So that's the nutshell on most of it. I need to speak to the fire code just a little bit. There are a couple other items, but that's all this package is just where we've changed 2012 to 2018 throughout here, a number of places. On the housing code, it's with exceptions, Exhibit BB and Exhibit CC, and those are the state documents where they're accepting the blower door or making the blower door optional and replacing the energy code tables with the 09 energy code. There is a fire code set of changes here. We would be replacing the 12 with the 18. Our old ordinance exempted a chapter that had to do with fireworks. And what we would request to do would be to undo, put that chapter back in, leave that chapter in and just exempt we would exempt out the exceptions in the chapter. So there's 3 exceptions. There's 4 exceptions, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We would want to leave 3 in, and those speak to fireworks in the city. And but the chapter itself speaks to explosives, fireworks, and the whole ball of wax. Chuck had a concern that when we exempt the whole chapter, we now have no regulation for explosives and things. When what we were really aiming at was exempting out fireworks, So our exception 3 would stay in on that. We would strike out exception 1, 2, and 4. That's what we're asking for there. You've got this in your packet. And that will be our changes pertinent to the fire code. Chuck, did that cover it for you for the fire code?
Yes. I would also add, Dan, if I may, I appreciate you conveyed that perfectly. But I would also add that when the city adopted 2012 codes, they specifically in the building code omitted the requirement for sprinklers in single family residence and duplex residents. They failed to omit that in the fire code. We've been in a kind of a quandary about that, but the fire department never enforced it because it was clear. It was very clear that the city council did not want to enforce that part of the building code. So I would assume they did not want to enforce that part in the fire code either. It was just an oversight. But the fire department would like to omit, as Dan said, that one, those 3 exceptions to the fireworks, which allows a lot of things that our city ordinance does not permit. The section that we want to leave in pertains to only professional fireworks shows, which the city ordinance allows. But the fire code with that particular section, I think it's 5608. I believe that it gives so much more control, so much more detail, so much more requirements, so much more safety, and that's the only exemption we want to leave in fireworks. Now, with respect to the fire code, as sprinkler systems are concerned, we still do not want to, the fire department still does not want to require sprinkler systems in single family or duplex residences. I agree with Dan 100%. That's like, it's Big Brother telling you what to do. It's also an undue, I think it's a huge cost to the homeowner. Now, if the homeowner wants to do it and they get savings on the insurance, that's fine. But I don't think that I'm in a position to require, I don't want you to tell me, let's just say this, I don't want you to tell me that I've got to sprinkler in my home. I don't want you to tell me that I've got to do this in my home. So for that reason, I just think that we need to leave out, because the 2018 code clearly says sprinklers shall be required in all residential capacities. And Dan, I want to go a step further, and because we have said that townhouses are single-family residential buildings, and I want to make sure that this would extend to them as well. I don't think that we should require sprinklers in single-family residential homes, nor duplexes. Now, the state will require them in all apartment buildings. The state's going to oversee that, and they're going to require it, and that's not us. So you're exactly right, Dan. In the one, I want the one exception in the explosive code, because when we omitted in 2012, we omitted the entire chapter. So somebody could have 2,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate, and we can't control it. We can't say no. There's lots of other things that I won't even talk about that people could have, and we can't say no. So let's just exclude what needs to be excluded and keep what needs to be kept. And you're exactly right, Dan. Once again, keep the thing, exclude all the exclusions from the fireworks section except public displays, professional public displays. And I think that you're right. I think that was the third one. And I just cannot fathom forcing people to put sprinklers in their own homes if they don't want them. And that's all I've got.
Do you have that in your?
I do.
Okay,
That's
recommendation.
actually right here on your paper, and it's in the building code as well.
No,
So
if I remember correctly, you brought this to our attention way earlier this year.
yes,
And
I did.
didn't you want it to the city council by October 1st?
What I would like to do is get a recommendation this evening to send this package that I've handed you to the city council for approval. They have to approve it. You make a
But
recommendation, and on we go.
Does the city attorney get involved in this?
The city attorney's gonna have to be the one to, I shouldn't,
Because we're only and it's got to be done by January 1st.
or we'll be behind state law. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So that only gives them 3 months to get it done.
So they have to do a hearing and a
Yeah.
good reading. So yeah, that's our
So I
issue.
don't want to hold this thing up anymore. And you've got it all, everything you need to
I've got it broke down
Get it
in
on
this
their-
thing. I've
on their
made,
agenda.
there's your state rules and everything, and I reference putting those. Now, how this gets put together, that's kind of up to, I'm happy
Hey,
with the
Dan,
place. I don't know
hey,
if Susan's
Dan.
at, but anyway, you
Well,
get it
but it would be on the city council agenda, October
for
or
the next
whatever.
meeting.
And then it goes to the city attorney.
No, I would try to make sure she has this after we're done, but
It won't get on the
Hey,
agenda.
Dan.
then.
yes, Chuck.
Dan, hey, Dan, this Chuck.
Yes, Chuck.
Okay. There were two other things that we talked about on this fire code deal, and that was two appendices. I don't recall. I came home from work and I didn't bring my notes. I'm so sorry. One
I
had
got
to
them
do
on
with
here,
the.
Chuck.
Okay, but you didn't address them. You didn't say them.
You're
So,
right. I'm sorry. I got them on this list. It's appendix D and I. Strike all
And
others.
they need to be adopted by specific reference. or they don't count, and they pertain to the maintenance of existing sprinkler systems. And the other one was pertaining to fire access roads.
That's right. What he's saying is the appendix in the back of these books do not apply unless you specifically adopt them as a body having jurisdiction. So we're striking out all appendixes in this case, except for D&I on the fire. And then, so that's it on them. On the International Residential Code, there's a couple appendixes that I would be interested in adopting. One is one on tiny homes. It gives a little more information on inspecting tiny homes. And, for example, we have rules on stairways. That's not held true in a tiny home situation. You really don't. You'd be out the front door in a lot of cases. So,
Okay, so all you want from us is a motion to send this on to city council.
Yeah.
And have it on there. It's in 2 weeks. On their agenda.
Somebody, Chuck, were you saying something?
No, I was talking to my beautiful daughter. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry about that. So yes,
Okay.
Before we go, I'm asking you to send this proposal to the city council.
Okay.
If you want further information, I'll be happy to give it to you. I don't want to hold you up if you don't. There is one more part of it I want you to look at right quick, because I want you to be sure you're aware of it. And that is, I have made some new application of fees, or some new applications with fees on it, okay, that would change with this. That's our current recommended schedule of permit fees.
Okay.
It's this is dated 1999, and it's significantly lower than everybody else's. That's on the building permit fee. I really haven't changed that at all, except I've made a small change in a plans review fee. I'm supposed to charge 50% of the cost of the permit to review the plans. I'm doing that on commercial permits, but I'm not doing that on homes. I would like to do, and what I'm currently doing is a $35 fee on a home instead of half the cost of the permit. A permit on a house might be, on one of our typical ones, it depends. It could be $600, and it doesn't. It's $300 for a plans review is a little steep, if you ask me. So I've got in there under 140, $35, under 240, $50, and over 240, $100 for a plans review. Plans review is where we make sure the plan meets code in many different aspects. That would be it on the building. And then on the plumbing, well, we got a sign here. The permit fees wouldn't change on that. Stay the same as we were. And we got a plumbing permit application. If you go to that page, we put a rate in there at each one, made an application. Our rate in the past was $1 a fixture. So on a plumbing permit, where I would have to go out, normally on a house, it would be a rough-in inspection and a final inspection. And then there's paperwork required, filing applications and stuff. So our fee on a typical house was about $9 or $11, and that's not quite enough to cover the administration of it, let alone the inspections and stuff. We put a base fee on everything of $25, and then $250 a fixture after that. We're still significantly lower than the average community. Okay, about $30 lower than what the state is on that. Did the same thing on a mechanical permit, $25 base fee. That covers Amy for taking the permit, filing it, creating files, entering it into the computer. All those inspection forms and stuff get filed and everything. And then of course we get 2 inspections on that, and those fees over here per unit or something. Gas permit, same thing, $25, and everything kind of worked in backwards to come out where we're not, we're essentially very competitive. We're a little bit on the shy side of it, but when we were getting $1 before, per fixture. That's a pretty significant jump, but I wanted you to be aware of those fee changes because that's part of that package. That too has to go, all that one big lump go to the city council for, with a recommendation is what we're aiming at.
So we took care of 11C.
I think I did. If you're happy, I'm happy.
You're moving along to city council. Ready for 12 other business?
I have none.
None. Chad, do you have anything?
No, James, did you have anything? I saw you were still on.
Did Llewellyn's Exxon co-op deal go through?
Yes, the variants were approved on that, so it's ready to be signed. I don't know. It could be a staff approval now that the variances were approved. So I don't know if the planning commission necessarily has to take action, but we could do that though, since it has all the signatures on it while we've got it.
Well, that's why I stayed.
Yeah, if you all don't mind doing that under new business, you all approved the variances on Mayor Llewellyn's plat for the service station in that side building. But since we have it, it wouldn't hurt for us just to go ahead and let the planning commission approve that tonight rather than us having to staff approve it.
We did.
I think it's already done, Chad. I'm not sure.
Well, that was handled under the BZA. There was no motion
BZA.
at the planning commission meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. We approved the variance. We did not approve the, I didn't even put it on the agenda. That was my fault.
You said you could handle it on new business, didn't
Oh,
you?
yeah, other business or new business. We approved the variance. We didn't approve the plat.
For
Do we even need to, Chad?
That's
Would
right.
it be in a,
Co-op.
is it not a simple,
is this for the
Co-op up there in the service station.
Got this. It's already signed, so far as I was already
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah, it's approved.
It
We're
is
good.
Typically it would be, but he didn't put the staff approval certificate on here. And since it went to the BZA, a lot of times we will take that plat and just let the planning commission approve it too. And I don't see a minor subdivision B certificate, and there's no sense in him having to add that or change the plat. So the plat's on the screen now. It has all the other signatures. And now that the variances have been approved, I would just recommend the planning commission approve this final plat.
okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call the roll.
Chairman Moore,
Aye.
Secretary Davis, yes. Charles Davis,
Yeah,
Bobby Dawes, Joe
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Joe Runyon. I think Joe's done gone to eat. That's approved.
Okay. Anything else, Chad?
No, sir. That's all.
Take care of it. Okay.
thank you,
Anybody else?
James.
Anything
Thank you.
else?
Thank you, Chad.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, got a motion to adjourn?
I'll make it.
Second.
All those. Call the roll.
No.
All, okay, roll's called. We're adjourned.
Have a good evening, everybody.
See you, Chad.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Bye-bye.